Welcome back to the Talking Hedge. I'm Josh Kincaid, Capital Markets Analyst and host of your Cannabis Business Podcast. Back on with us is Rohit Srivastava, Chief Investment Officer and Portfolio Manager with Saroj and Bhanu Fund, talking about his AI-based algorithm with technical analysis and predictive analysis. So, Rohit, tell us what's going to happen next week.
Thanks, Josh. A lot of stuff happened last couple of weeks, and last week we talked about how a lot of funds was pumped into this market. Today, first a disclosure that this is all for entertainment. This is all for learning. There is no financial advice we're giving here. We just watch and enjoy what we're talking about. The equally weighted index, which gives you an idea about where the market is going, the cannabis market in general going. So this is all the stocks which we are tracking. This was about 3 months ago, about like a month ago. This was last week, and we're still at the same point. It is still hovering over that 475, going back and forth on that. Last week it was low, now it's a little bit higher. So I think it's still testing that support of that, and I think it's stabilizing in my view. It's stabilizing, and the start of the year is really going to give a good idea about where this market is going to head. So I would say just let's wait for 1 or 2 weeks more and see where this is moving, so that we can have an appropriate investment in that. From the cash flow perspective, this is how it has been moving in the last couple of weeks. This was last week. It was way up there. A lot of funds had been invested in that, and this week it's way back down again. But it doesn't mean that that this market is now ready to crash again. What I think is that what I believe that what's happened is that during this time there was a huge short sell or huge selling that was happening around here, and this was just compensating for that. But I think that it's probably still probably going to head back up there, considering that if it had to fall in this whole market, had to fall, the spike had happened, it should have happened during that time. The other only the catch out of this is that this, if you see the trend, it is going lower and lower in this market. It is going lower and lower, but at the same time it is also going higher and higher on here as well. So I think there might be another big spike going down here, maybe in February, January end or February. There might be a big spike going down, but that might not indicate that the whole market is crashing. It really means that some of the buyers who bought during this time are just trying to take their money back. That's probably what it really means.
Could this be a short squeeze as well on the third Friday of every month? A lot of the short sellers have to cover their positions if it doesn't work out in their favor. Could some of these be short squeezes? Because that's a lot of volatility, it seems like.
Yes, it could be possible that it might be covering. They might be trying to cover their shorts in that, but it's the short sales are really not hard to track, but hard to predict that which way the market will probably go. And the reason I'm saying is that like last time we talked about that Tesla is the biggest shorting stock, and people short the Tesla stock a lot, but people have lost billions and billions of dollars in Tesla as well. So it doesn't really predict which direction the market is going. But you're right that it could be that that this is where basically they might be just covering the short which they might have bought. So my take is it is still hovering over the zero. It has not really crashed completely. So it is still hovering the zero. So I would still say that this spike was really encouraging, and this still hovering over the zero is very encouraging at this point. And I would say that it is investing with caution is probably what I would really talk about. From a short buy and sell perspective, short in the sense like short-term buy and sell, this is where we were last week, where we were holding 4 positions and we got into one more position, which is the ZYNE. It's a very small company, with small market cap. But like I said earlier, right, getting into these stocks with caution is what I'm suggesting. And in this, like what we talked about last week, right? That like I talked about earlier, right? That there has been a lot of signals, like, which basically triggered, but it has been suppressed because of the volatility. There's so much volatility that it's not really going in and buying everything. That's what the intelligence is about, that it goes and takes cautious decisions when the volatility is very high. So at this point, ZYNE is a new entry, and we are still doing reasonably well in the other ones. Cara and GWPH were the 2 last week which we got into, and it's probably like still going to keep hovering over those prices till the end of the year, or maybe go lower. But I think it's probably Cara and GWPH, in my view, are at a point where they are really at a bottom. So I think those are good ones to hold on to at this point. So from conclusion perspective, it's still a lot of money had been pumped up. It's still hovering over zero. It could fall down, but just being cautious about about the investment. And we got into the new stock, which is a ZYNE, and that's what I have for today.
Yeah, I'm excited to see next week if we're continuing to move sideways on that first chart, or if there's a breakout either way. Looks like on the downside, we might be able to hit 350. On the upside, it could hit 650, just kind of based on that chart analysis. So I'm eager to see what happens either way.
Yeah, and two of the important stocks which I've been monitoring is Cron and Hexo. They both are in a very bad shape, and I don't know from fundamental perspective what is the story, and I think you can chime into that. But I think both of these are really in a bad shape, and I am waiting for the bottom to see the bottom of that, so that we can get back into that.
So are the other shareholders. They're waiting to hear what the result is too. I think there's some ongoing litigation and some issues with both of those companies, from domestic to their Latin America counterparts. So a lot of issues with the Canadian LPs. Are going to have to just ride that wave out through the end of the year and hopefully remain a going concern. Awesome. Well, I'm excited to see what happens. I appreciate you being back on the podcast, Rohit. With that, we're going to roll this one up. I'm Josh Kincaid. This is The Talking Hedge. I want to thank Rohit Srivastava, Chief Investment Officer and Portfolio Manager with Saroj and Bhanu Fund. Thanks for being back on the podcast.
Thank you, Josh.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, or don't, and I'm out. By the way, if you enjoy the content, please show your support with the cushy gesture of $4.20 a month on the Talking Hedges Patreon page. This will kind of help me spread the word. I've been asked to speak all over the world, from Toronto and Colombia, Spain, Miami, all over, Tokyo. But your support's important to me. I haven't monetized the podcast. I want to be as authentic and transparent as possible. I want to avoid conflicts of interest, or even the perception of paid opinions. So don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, or pay me on the Talking Hedges Patreon page, or don't, and I'm out.